Hey guys, Travis here with Alberta Backroads, and today I'm going to show you how I installed this Rugged Ridge AmFib snorkel kit on my 2018 Jeep JL. Now this installation will be the same for 2018 and up Jeep JL, JLU, and JT Gladiator 2 liter and 3.6 liter engines. So be sure to like and subscribe. Stay tuned. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is lay out all of our parts and double check the inventory list here just to make sure that we have everything and they didn't forget to send us something. Alright, so the first thing we have to do is we're going to have to remove the factory grill. The reason we're removing that is we have to remove the factory air duct and the it has some mounting bolts behind the grill here. So to remove that, all we have to do is lift up on these plastic clips like so. Remove them. Alright, once we get all the plastic retaining clips out of the top, it's pretty easy. You just give the grill a pull, and then there you go. After removing the grill, we're going to go ahead and remove this rod. Alright, after removing that rod, we're going to jump up here and remove this hose connector on the factory intake. You can simply remove that by depressing this clip and just pulling it straight out. Simple as that. Then we're going to move on to removing the factory intake tube. To remove the factory intake tube, we have two hose clamps, one here and one here. You can remove them with a flat tip screwdriver. And then we're going to go ahead and remove the clip for the intake air temperature sensor. Remove these two wire retainers. And then we're going to remove the two 10mm bolts located at the top of the rad support here. Alright, our next step is to remove the factory air box, and we're going to do that by removing this 10mm bolt here. And then we're simply going to lift up on the air box until it comes out. Alright, next we're going to remove that ambient air duct by removing these two T20 screws. After removing those two screws, simply grab the air duct, give it a yank, and it'll come right out. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is remove this cowl here by removing the four T40 screws. And it just comes right out. Alright, so next we have to remove this foam piece here. It's pretty easy, just give it a pull, it comes right off. Next we have to make a cut along the line that I have already traced out. And tech tip, to cut this line in this plastic, extremely easy. What we're going to do, we're going to take a micro torch and we're going to just warm the plastic up. Then we're just going to cut along the line. Just like that. Alright, the next step, we're going to remove this 10mm bolt here. This bolt will not be reused, so you can throw it away, set it aside, or whatever you need to do with it. Alright, so next step we're going to install the snorkel inlet in the place of the factory cowl, and we're going to reuse the OEM hardware. Now Rugged Ridge says that you have to remove the antenna to install this piece. However, we found moving it out of the way, just giving it a pull, works just fine. Alright, so one thing that I noticed a lot of guys complain about is if you install this by yourself, you'll have a pretty major gap sticking out here. That's just the way that this fits. However, that can be remedied by having a friend push on this snorkel base while you tighten down these 2 bolts, and it completely eliminates the protrusion from the snorkel base and leaves an OEM line. Alright, so next we're going to remove this splash guard here from the factory air intake, and we're going to do that by removing 1 screw on the top. You can remove that with a flathead screwdriver. And then we're going to take the same flathead screwdriver and we are going to remove these retaining clips one at a time until we can pop the thing out. This can be tedious. Alright, next we're going to remove the factory airbox cover and the air filter using a flathead screwdriver. Alright, so the next step, we have to make the airbox watertight. So to do that, we're going to use these push clips or push rivets and a dab of silicone. Just like that. Alright, so next we're going to install a drain using this valve and some hose. And to do that, we're going to drill a 5/8 hole between the sticker and this piece of matting they have installed here. After our hole's drilled, we're going to apply some silicone around the area. Then we're going to insert our fitting and secure it from the other side with the supplied nut. Alright, so next we're going to build our drain valve, and we're going to attach the drain valve with this hose and the supplied hose clamps to the fitting we have mounted in the bottom of the airbox. So next we're going to install the new air intake duct using the supplied rubber gasket. We're going to put the gasket on the duct. And then, before we get too far, we're going to install this little rubber grommet into the hole right here. Then, we're going to install this duct onto the factory intake by simply pushing it together. Just like that. Alright, so after you install your new air duct to the factory intake box, you want to just give it a tug, make sure everything got on there tight. We don't want any water getting in here around this seal, so make sure it's all nice and snug. Alright, so next we're going to reinstall the factory air box into the vehicle. It's helpful to lubricate these grommets. It makes it pop in easier. And once we have the intake air box in place, we are just going to loosely attach the top bolt previously removed. Alright, so next we're going to install the intake tube with the long end of the intake tube and the long silicone coupler going to the snorkel inlet, and the short end of the intake tube and the short silicone coupler going to the air intake. Alright, so after painfully fighting with these silicone couplers to get them on there and fit them in properly, we finally got the thing installed. Now time to move on to the next step. So next, we can reinstall the factory grill. Alright, so now that we have our grill back in place, we can go ahead and tighten down that 10mm bolt that we left loose before for installing our tube. And we can put our air filter back in and our intake tube back in place and tighten everything up. Alright, because we're installing the high-rise portion of the snorkel kit, we're going to be taking this adhesive mount and sticking the adhesive side to this adapter plate. Just like that. Alright, so after our adhesive gasket is installed, we're going to take our upper gasket and lay that on, following the curves of the intake tube, as you can see. Then we're going to take this block off gasket, and this is going to be installed inside of here, like so. Then we're going to lay this in place, grab our upper tube, and mount it. Alright, so before we install the upper intake tube to the top here, we're going to install this little rubber bumper into the back. This is just there to help protect the body from scratches and whatnot and keep the snorkel stable. Then we're going to lay the snorkel in place. Alright, so now that we have our gaskets in place and our plate in place, we can now install the long tube using the supplied long hardware. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're installing this tube is that back bumper we put on the back of the long tube may have to be adjusted to provide fitment, you know, for these holes to line up. Alright, so now at long last we can install the top to our snorkel, and that just sits on like so. Ensure it's lined up and tighten the remaining hose clamp, and that's it. You're finished. Alright, so if you want the low mount, or you just want to switch it up every now and then, it's pretty easy. Remove your high mount and install this bracket using the same gaskets besides the front gasket, obviously, because you want the airflow in there, and the supplied short hardware. Simple as that. If you have any questions regarding the install or any suggestions, leave it in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed the video or you found it informative, please be sure to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching.